Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and it is Motivation Monday. I am excited because I know you all had a great weekend and you are excited for what you are about to accomplish on this week. And guess what? Monday starts it all. See, I know we got a lot of people that's called and talented and gifted, and you're trying to operate in your purpose. But today we are going to talk about this right here. Being called isn't enough. Start preparing like it. And that's what I've been doing for these past months, preparing your mind, changing the way you think. There's a difference between being called and being ready. A lot of people know they're chosen, they feel it, they believe it, they speak it, but here's the problem. Feeling called is not the same as being prepared. And we're living in a time where people are claiming purpose, but avoiding process. You are praying for doors to open, but not building the capacity to walk through them. And today, we're going to deal with that. Yes, we are. Because being called isn't enough. You got to start preparing like it. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Join us on this heavenly journey, one song at a time, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and it is Motivation Monday. A lot of people are called, but they are not preparing for their call. They're scared of the work. See, there's an illusion of readiness that people are experiencing. Research shows something powerful. People often mistake potential with progress. Just because you feel like you can do something doesn't mean you've built the discipline to sustain it. That's the trap. You feel called, so you assume you're ready, but readiness is not feelings. It's the results of preparation. And let me slow that down for you. Feeling ready comes from emotions. Being ready comes from repetition. Feeling ready is based on confidence. Being ready is built on consistency. And here's where people get in trouble. They let confidence speak louder than capacity. So they step into a moment prematurely, and instead of performing, they get exposed. And now they walk away thinking, maybe I'm not called. No, you're called. You just skipped the preparation. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
You're riding the waves of faith and grace on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to Motivation Monday, and I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and this is the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about intentions versus execution gap. Study shows there's only a moderate link between what people intend to do and what they actually do. Meaning, you can want it, you can plan it, you can talk about it, and still never execute it. Because when the work gets hard, emotions overrides discipline. Let me make it plain. You wake up motivated, but by the time resistance shows up, you shut down. You say, I'm going to start this next week. But when it's time to start, you delay, you adjust, you push it back. That gap, that space between what you say and what you do, that's where dreams die. And that's why being called isn't enough. Because calling gives you vision, but execution is what builds reality. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. This is Motivation Monday, and you are here on Wayvve Radio. Man, we thank you for being a dedicated listener, a loyal listener, and I need you to go on the website. If you haven't, share your information because we do giveaways, we have tickets, we have music, we have things that we want to share with you. But let's talk about the avoidance problem. The avoidance problem. That means you are avoiding something. A lot of people aren't lazy. They are avoiding avoiding. They stay busy doing things that don't matter, so they don't have to face what does. You'll answer emails all day, but won't work on the things that actually grow you. You'll scroll, post, comment, but won't sit down and develop your craft. That's not productivity, that's protection. Protection from failure, protection from pressure, protection from exposure, because if you actually try, now it's real. Now you can't hide behind potential anymore, and some people would rather stay full of potential than risk finding out where they actually stand.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about fear of responsibility. There's a real concept called the fear of your own greatness. People don't avoid preparation because they don't want success. They avoid it because of what success requires. Responsibility, consistency, accountability. Let me say something strong. Everybody wants the spotlight until they realize it comes with weight. Weight of expectations, weight of performance, weight of consistency. Those weights can get heavy. But that's what the spotlight comes with. And once you become prepared, you lose your excuses. You can't say, I'm still learning anymore. Now it's go perform. And a lot of people avoid preparation because preparation removes the escape route. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. You got a shout out, a request, hit us up and I got you. Let's take this to the word. Can I take this to the word? Let's take it to the word. Let's go to Luke 16, verse 10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. That's only the first part of that scripture. You have to be faithful in what God called you in. Because guess what? And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in the much. Remember I said there was a second part to that scripture. Be faithful in the least of what God has given you so that he can trust you with much. Because again, if you are unjust in the least, you're going to be unjust in the much. And if God can't trust you, he's not going to open bigger doors or give you more. See, God is not just looking at your calling. He's watching how you handle what's in your hands right now. Let's bring this home. Let's bring this home. How do you show up when nobody's watching? How do you work when there's no recognition? How do you handle small responsibilities? Because the truth is, big opportunities are built on small disciplines. You don't jump from nothing to everything. You grow into it. Faithfulness is not proven in the spotlight. It's proven in the shadows. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. You know, there's a lot of talented basketball players, football players, talented authors. It's a lot of talented people that's still on the street, that's at home, because they thought their talent alone would get them the spotlight. But can I tell you something? Talent is not enough. We've seen it too many times. Talented people out of the game. You've seen it in sports. You've seen it in business. You've seen it in ministry. People who had the gift but didn't have the discipline. Let's say it clearly. Talent gets you noticed, but character keeps you there. And character is not built in comfort. It's built in process. It's built in reputation. It's built in correction. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. And people only respect what they know has been earned. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Bringing the sounds of heaven 24/7, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Guess what, people? You sink to your preparation. See, under pressure, people don't rise. They fall to the level of training. That means whatever you've been doing consistently, that's what shows up when it matters. Not your best intentions, not your biggest dreams, your habits. So when your moment comes, you're not going to magically become focused. You're going to default to what you've practiced. And if you've been disciplined, you will execute. And if you've been inconsistent, you will struggle. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's look at some biblical pattern. David was anointed king, but went back to the field. Joseph had the dream, but went through the pit and prison. Moses was called, but spent years in the wilderness. God didn't skip their process. He used it. The field built David. The prison built Joseph. The wilderness built Moses. Your process is not punishment, it's preparation. Even Jesus didn't start his ministry when he first came. Jesus went through a process and then he started his ministry. And he was the Son of God. So why don't you think you have to go through the process? Just because you're called, just because you are talented, that doesn't mean you don't have to go through the process of preparation to be prepared for that season. Because you never seen the season where God is trying to take you. So just because you were skilled in business, but you never did an acquisition of a $40 million deal, you can't go in there because, you are closing $1,000 deals, $10,000 deals. That's different from $100 million deals. So you got to prepare for the season. Just like David did, just like Joseph did, and just like Moses, and just like Jesus. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. How many of y'all heard of the readiness illusion? There's a psychological reality. The less you know, the more ready you think you are, because you don't understand the full weight of the assignment. You see the platform, but not the pressure. You see the success, but not the sacrifice. And once you get deeper into it, you realize I've got more to build. That's not discouragement, that's awareness. Stop wanting what other people have. You don't know what it took for them to get there. You don't understand the sleepless nights, the lost relationships, the brokenness, the broke bank accounts. You don't understand what they've been through. So go through your process. Stop wanting what somebody else have and want what God has for you. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about imposters versus preparation. Yeah, some of y'all are imposters out there. Some people say, I feel like a fraud. But let's tell the truth. Sometimes it's not imposter syndrome, it's a preparation gap. Your spirit is telling you you haven't built this yet. And instead of being offended by that, you should respond to it, because that feeling is not to stop you, it's to push you into preparation. So we do have some people are true imposters. They on social media saying they this, they that, but they never went through the preparation to be this, to be that. They went on social media, learned a little something. But I know the people who are listening to me right now, if you're feeling like that, it's God telling you, you need to prepare more. Because I know, you know what? I know my listeners y'all not imposters. I know y'all not. It's just God speaking to you, say, hey, you need to prepare a little bit more. You're not ready for this season. Prepare yourself for the next season, okay? Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm stuttering like crazy. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. I need for you all to respect the process. People only trust what's been tested. They don't trust hype. They don't trust talk. They trust consistency. That's why people respect people who respect the process. When people see discipline, growth, and consistency, they lean in because they know this person didn't skip steps. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, good people? Yes. Monday. We are almost through this Monday. I just said that like a beep, 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 beep. Man, you got to laugh at yourself. But let's talk about the stewardship principle. You're not judged by what you were given. You're judged by what you did with it. Your calling is the gift. Your preparation is the responsibility. Let me challenge you. What are you doing with what you already have? Because a lot of people are waiting for more, but haven't maximized what's already in their hands. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about the collapse factor. We've all seen it. People finally get the opportunity and can't sustain it. Not because they weren't called, but because they weren't built. Research shows people who gain success without discipline often lose it within a few years because their character can't carry their platform. Let me make this plain. You can have the vision, you can have the talent, you can have the opportunity and still collapse because success doesn't just expose your strengths, it exposes your weaknesses at a higher level. So now your lack of discipline is visible. Your inconsistency is amplified. Your character gap are on display. And what used to be small issues become major problems under pressure. That's why you don't chase opportunity. You build capacity. Because if you don't build it now, the moment you're praying, you will break. I'm sorry. The moment you're praying for will break you. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Don't you know there's a weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, to your calling? There's a weight to your call. Let's deal with something real. Your calling has weight. And most people are in love with the idea of it, but not the responsibility of it. Because calling sounds exciting, but preparation feels repetitive. Calling feels powerful, but preparation feels ordinary. And that's where people fall off because they're looking for something big while ignoring the small things that build them. Let me say this clearly. If you can't handle repetition, you can't handle responsibility. The weight of leadership, the weight of influence, the weight of being trusted, it requires consistency. Not once, not when you feel like it, but every day. That's why God builds you in the routine. Because if you can't manage the routine, you won't survive the responsibility. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Man, my time is almost up, but guess what? We got a little bit of more time, and I have a little bit more information I want to share with you. But if you missed any part of this show right here, you can go to Wayvve Radio and you can listen to the show in its entirety without the music. Let's talk about personal audit. Let's stop talking general. Let's make this personal. If what you've been praying for showed up today, would your life support it? Not your dream, your life. Would your habit support it? Would your discipline sustain it? Would your mindset handle it? Or would it expose you? Because here's the truth. Most people avoid. You don't rise into the opportunity. Opportunity exposes what you've already built. So let's audit it. Are you consistent or just motivated? Are you disciplined or just inspired? Are you developing or just desiring? Because desire without development leads to disappointment. And this is where change starts. Let's be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves. Not emotional, not defensive, but honest. We have to have an honest assessment of ourselves. We got to be real, because once you see it clearly, now you can build intentionally. What Michael Jackson said, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. We got to look at ourselves. We got to look in the mirror. We got to be honest with ourselves. Let's give ourselves an honest assessment. We don't need to be emotional about it, and let's not be defensive about it. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. My time is up. I thank you for joining me here on this Motivation Monday. It's been good, and I always love you all because, again, without you all, there's no me. Okay, so let me leave you with this. Let me bring this all the way home, what we've been talking about today. Being called is not the issue. You already know that. You feel it, you believe it, you've spoken it. But here's the truth. Calling without preparation is dangerous because it creates expectation without infrastructure. And it creates visibility without stability. And it creates opportunity without capacity. And that's why some people get the moment and lose it. But that's not your story. That's not your story. Because now you know. The process is not against you. The process is building you. So stop looking at where you are as a delay and start seeing it as development. Stop asking, when is it going to happen? And start asking, who do I need to become before it happens? Because when that moment comes, you won't rise to it. You will reveal what you built. And if you've done the work, if you've respected the process, and if you stay consistent when nobody saw you, you won't just step into that moment. You will dominate it. Yes, you will. Listen, I'm gonna leave you with this. Calling gives you direction, but preparation gives you the capacity. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm out of here. I will catch you tomorrow on Triumph Tuesday. Peace.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.